Stay connected with Fiat Ministry Network. Like us on Facebook. Stay updated at fiatministrynetwork.tv/feed. Follow us on Twitter at Fiat Ministry Net. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Fiat Ministry Network. Fiat Ministry Network, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus.
Welcome to the Fiat Ministry Show, episode 40. We're at 40 episodes. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's show. We got a great show. Right down to it, it's all about our Catholic faith, the Catechism. We have just a great friend that's done the Catechism series on the Fiat Ministry Network, John Kuhry Sr. As our guest tonight. We'll be talking about the series is ready to be picked up, and definitely check it out. We will give you places to find it. I will definitely have it linked up with the website on Fiat. There's also, you can find it on John's website, which I will put up. But just again, thank you for joining us. Make sure to follow us. Keep the prayers, any kind of support in the sense of financial or prayers are always necessary. That we keep doing this. We're really are just fired up this year. I think with Hungry for More. With our show, we have a couple more things going on coming up in the down the line. But right now, we just want to talk about the Catechism. And learning the Catechism is so important to be able to know your faith. And so we will bring on John onto the show. Welcome, John. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you very much. It's really nice to be with you. We've had some technical problems. I will tell your audience they're entirely my fault, and because I'm old, you see. I didn't forewarn the man who runs this network, but I'm going to hold up in front of you. I have prepared a visual aid. It's very, very fancy now, but it will help describe where I am coming from. With the Catechism and the linkage between my being the host of the series and the Fiat Ministry Network.tv. This is the visual aid. Can everybody see that?
Huh? Yep.
2 plus 2. Now, I need to explain what this means. 2 means 2 times. That's the number of years that the old warrior's age exceeds the executive producer. Plus 2 more. Everybody got that?
Yes.
He likes it. Okay. Now, I use this because there are some people in the audience tonight, Ken, that are getting a little long in the tooth. Kind of like the old warrior here, all right? There are septuagenarians and octogenarians in your audience, I'm sure. They're also in my radio audience. And there are also a great number of people that are your age.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when a grandparent or a great-grandparent, which is what the old warrior is in both instances, begin to talk to the generations under them, things get lost in the translation because my experience base differs dramatically from yours.
Mm-hmm.
When we first collaborated on this idea, and Kent and I chatted about this, I thought it had some immense possibilities. And that was one of the reasons, because Kent is a young man and I'm an old man. Kent is a fervent Catholic and I'm a fervent Catholic. But there's a big gap between the fervent Catholics of my generation and the fervent Catholics of his generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their fault. It's not our fault. but it exists.
Mm-hmm.
When we began talking about this, I suggested to Kent that, when I was a young guy in grade school, we were required to memorize the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Memorize the Catechism.
Mm-hmm.
And people now look at you like you're absolutely nuts, because what they relate to is a catechism that looks like this, that's pretty darn thick, like 800 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was talking about was the old Baltimore Catechism, which was about 80 pages. All it contained was dogma and doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else. The rules by which the Catholic Church has existed since the time of St. Peter. All right? That was what that catechism was about. This catechism, in vivid contrast, is a complete compendium of the faith, which means it not only includes all the rules, it includes the reasons for the rules. It includes sacred scripture. It includes papal encyclicals. It includes sacred tradition. It includes councils of the church. It includes the sacred writers like Augustine and Aquinas and so forth. So that it is an entirely different kind of instrument, if you will, than the one that I grew up with. However, it's the same faith.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, and Kent and I have talked about this, and he came up with an ingenious idea, one that never occurred to me, but it's an absolutely ingenious idea. We know that a scant less than 0.5% of the world's Catholics even own one of these. It's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Kent knows. We've talked about this. Less than 0.5% even own a catechism. How in the world could you expect any of them to become catechized if they don't even have a catechism? And the answer is that's an expectation that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So our job, when we put this series together last year, was to figure out, using a multi-sensory approach, and by that I mean now, in the old days, you memorized the book. That's what you did. Now, so you're using sight. Now television gives us sound. It also gives us pictures. So it gives us a three-dimensional view, if you will, of this, what's in this large book.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We began to talk about how we might do this. And I pointed out to him that I had quite a bit of experience in accessing the powers of the subconscious mind, which houses our memory, among other things. It's really a part of our soul.
Mm-hmm.
And that the attention span of a normal person is about 15 minutes or less.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you're ignorant or have a low IQ. It merely means that's human nature. That's who we are. So,
John?
long, television time is expensive to do and to produce. How do we do this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kit said, I got an idea. Most people that watch television, particularly commercial television, see all kinds of beautiful people with perfect makeup, and the women are all absolutely stunning, gorgeous, and the guys are really articulate, we think. But they have one thing in common. Every single one of them is reading a teleprompter that's mounted right above of the camera that's taking the pictures. Now think about that. So the nightly news guy, who you think is so erudite, so smart, he's reading a script. And he's reading that script because the television network wants to make sure they don't get sued, and so they don't want to put anything on the air. He's not allowed to ad lib anything. He's reading that. What if, instead of the host having the teleprompter, what if the audience had the teleprompter, Ken said, right? And I said, Eureka, that's it. That is it. So what I did then was I went to the catechism, and if any of you that have your catechisms, you'll find that there is a summary called In Brief at the end of each section. So I went and counted the number of in brief items. Figured that it would take about 10 weeks to do this in 4-part segments of 15 minutes. And guess what? The numbers came out.
Yes.
Then we said, okay, now what does a person have to do to prepare to become catechized? And the answer is, you got to go buy a catechism. You still have to do that. There's no escaping that. But we know that most people are not going to do that, at least not right out of the gate, until we get them hooked. We got to get them hooked a little bit. We got to hook them.
Yep.
So I said to Kent, we put that on the screen. Some of these people are going to read this and they're going to say, where in the world did old John come up with that? And of course, Kent said, well, we put the citation, the item number right next to it.
Yeah.
No arguments. So that's what we did. Now, we had some stops and starts because no one had ever tried this before, to our knowledge. I've still been checking, Kent. I haven't found anybody that's ever reversed the teleprompter thing on the audience. Maybe you have, but I haven't. Okay. Any rate, so I said, okay, we make this, then what happens? Well, first of all, what has to happen is we've got to have an instructional guide. Let's see this. I'll put this where. Yeah, there we go. Yep. So here's the instructional guide: how to teach the Catechism of the Catholic Church using internet television, hosted by John Kuhry, the Old Warrior, produced and directed by Kent Kuhry, Fiat Ministry Network.tv.
Yep.
This is 13 pages, and it's absolutely vital and necessary that anybody that's interested in this have a copy of this, because they're going to get lost otherwise. So we put that together. Kent did a whole lot of editing, which took a few months. And now the miracle has occurred. And the miracle is that we have now produced on two, these are called compact discs, right, Ken?
Yeah, they're DVDs. Yeah, they're DVDs.
They call them cassettes initially, but they're compact
discs.
discs.
They're DVDs. And
all right, so Kent did this, and now we've got that. So we've got these two parts.
Yep.
And we've got this, which I just held up. Yep. All right. And now we've even got a handy dandy, perfectly unbreakable shipping container, which looks like this.
Yes.
We're all ready to go. So last week, I put up on my website, and Kent's got it there for your convenience down there below my name, www.johnmcurry.com. If you go to page 3, he's already done this. This guy's a crackerjack.
I try.
So ahead of the old warrior on these technical matters, didn't even quote. So if you go to the screen, you'll see there copies of How to Teach the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Can be purchased at our cost, which is $60, and that includes the 13-page instructional manual as well, and our cost of shipping and handling. We cover all of that. And all you need to do is send an envelope with a check or money order in it to that address, payable to the change process, which is the company that we have, and it will be mailed out to you. Now, I want to emphasize, and Kent wanted me to emphasize this. The purpose of doing all of this is to save souls. This is not a commercial endeavor. Yes, we have some costs, and we have covered those costs, and we will continue to cover those costs with the proceeds from the sale of these compact discs and the cost of running off the instructions. Now, some of people are going to be interested. People, I put this on my radio show last Sunday night, Kent, and people are. I had several inquiries. Okay, now I want to emphasize to your audience something that's extremely important. And again, Ken and I both talked about this, and we're of one mind on this. The idea here was to get a group of people together.
Yes.
A parish group. It doesn't matter, a Catholic club, whatever, that are interested in learning the catechism. I will work with you to help you establish this. I might even come to see you and help you train some people who can therefore make this thing expand like crazy. The idea of this is that we've captured a way to do this. We think it's a very effective way to teach. We think it's a very modern way to teach. You can download these things on any kind of a contraption that you have, and I don't even know the names of all these things, all right? So convenience is built into this. Yeah. But we're talking about our Catholic faith.
Yes.
We're talking about something very important. We do not want to slapdash this just to get some out the door. So anybody that is interested, I would encourage you to follow the instructions that are on the website. If you would like me to get involved in the organization, all you need to do is call me, and that information is on the website too, or send me an email, and that's on the website also, okay? Because I don't want anybody to use these materials inappropriately, and Kent does neither. Right. His name and my name are on these things. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. Kent, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
No. I think the only thing I would add, and I think we're going to try to do, is also have an audio version, just so for people that will have the copy of the whole transcript that you did, but we'll also have an audio version so people can go in their cars on a long trip and listen to it. And I just thought that might be, one more thing to add. But I think what you're trying to do as bringing in the parishes to help them teach this, because I understand the priests are so busy, and they're the head of the parish, and they should take a somewhat of a
correct
routine, but that also have the parishioners take some leadership, and so so they can do something else. And I think that's kind of, I love what you're doing there. I think that's great. And
that's a very good point, Kent. Let me just take a minute to talk a little bit about that, if we have the time. Do we have the time?
Yeah.
Okay, stopwatch there. Okay, this is an effort by the laity, but this is not an exclusionary effort. We would every bit welcome clerical people involved in this, priests and nuns. I have already sent out letters to 6 bishops whom I feel might have some interest in this based upon previous either meetings or dealings I've had with them, or what we know about how they're running their respective dioceses. So if you are a member of the clergy looking in tonight, by all means, we would be more than willing to share this with you and share the information and the technology and the process. Now, I would tell you one more thing here. I became involved in a Catholic apostolate approximately 10 years ago, solely at the urging of two very senior priests. These gentlemen are 81 and 89 years of age, respectively, have been very distinguished priests throughout their entire priestly lives. And I have tremendous respect for the clergy. They pushed me into this. And when I told them what we were about to do with this, they were so excited about it. They said they thought it had all kinds of possibilities. So I know there are some clergymen out there and women, I don't want to leave the nuns out of this, that could perhaps really be involved with this. And all they need to do is just get a hold of us. We don't know who you are unless you let us hear from you. You can get a hold of Kent, but it's better because he's got such a full plate. I'm on my third retirement package right now, and still have a young family. So I have the time, and I devote all my time to this apostolate. So don't be shy. If you want to talk, you want to write me a note, please do that, and we'll get back to you. I promise you.
Yeah, and here's the contact information on your website. We send it up again, but just so you have it, I think what you're trying to do is what is necessary in the, how do we teach it? And I think we have a template. That's what you've done, John. I think you've done just a great job, not just as the presenting of the video and going through that, but having an outline that people can actually follow. And that's what I was always getting. I know there was loyal people that were watching each week's stream that we were doing live. We were recording it and doing it live, and we'll probably put it back on, at some point. But it was that step by step. I was always getting the information that people were saying they can follow this, because it's such a big book, as you were showing and you're sharing, it was a big book, but you went piece by piece. And I think that's so great that people would, you would take your time, because it took a long time for you. I mean, I was slow. I was slow to get everything up and, back to you, but you took a lot of time writing everything out. Well, made it so easy for me, and I learned something. You will learn something.
Let me make one more comment, okay? Remember the visual aid I held up to start, okay?
Yep.
2 + 2. All right, where are we? Okay. Being an old guy gives me an advantage in this endeavor because I've had a wealth of experience with the Catholic Church. A wealth of experience. And therefore, I'm able to comment from that experience base on the items in the catechism that are really, really important. Uh-huh. I'm not saying that someone else couldn't do as good a job or better, but what I am saying is that this is a senior person's experience that comes into play here that is really, really helpful in this, because we are bridging, as we said when we started this conversation about 15 minutes ago, uh-huh. We are really bridging 3 generations here. And my generation, everybody was catechized. You didn't have a choice. If you went to a Catholic school, the nuns grabbed you, they sat you down, and little Johnny learned the catechism. Uh-huh. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is no longer true.
Yeah.
We don't have the nuns in the schools anymore, for one thing. But so that's not true. So there's this gap that has developed over the last couple of generations. I see it in my kids. I see it in my grandkids, and I absolutely see it in my great grandchildren. I have 3 of those. So hopefully that lends a little bit to the product, if you will, and makes it, I think, more valuable and hopefully more understandable too.
Yeah, and I think that's the best part of what it entails. It does. I think people will get something out of it, and you're so right. I mean, it's so important to know your faith, and what more important way of enjoying and learning the faith, but diving into the actual book that gives you the whole outline of our Catholic faith. And it's easy to follow. You make it easy, like you're saying, 15 minutes, and then after 3 sections you go to like a review, and so people can actually take a break and review and pause and write down notes, and in their basically their script, basically, that they could basically really study the catechism correctly. And I think when we can do that and have hopefully parishes say, I'm on board, or even hopefully bishops that see this, and they can then send it out to different parishes and say, hey, can we take some parishioners from each parish and really teach them the correct way? And what you've done, John, is showed
Kent knows this far better than I do, but many parishes today have a great electronic capabilities.
Yep.
Right? For example, the parish I have in Omaha, we have a very, very high-end electronic capability, and so you can put this on a screen that looks like a movie screen. Okay, you can do all kinds of nice things with it, and so the ability to stream these things on a weekly basis, et cetera, to get groups together, all those kinds of things were in the consideration when Kent and I sat down last year. We first talked about this, but that's going to be a growing thing.
Yeah.
The technical capabilities are getting better and better across the country, and that lends itself to what we've just discussed.
Yep. Well, just make sure you find it on fiatministrynetwork.tv, John's website. It's johnmkuhry.com. And we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna go into a topic that you're I'm just learning as you were telling me prior to the show, but I'd like to hear about it, and I think the viewers and the listeners will definitely get something out of it. We're going to take a quick break, John, and then we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Ken Kowalski with the Fiat Ministry Network. We want to thank the Catholic Company to be such a great partner with the Fiat Ministry Network. Please check out their link at the bottom of our website, and please click over and check out their great website, as there's just tons of different items for all parts of the year, especially with the Mercy year coming up, Christmas, all throughout the whole year. There will be just tons of items. Please check them out for First Communion, reconciliation, weddings, just the gamut. And so that's the Catholic Company, and we just want to thank, from Fiat Ministry Network, their support of the Fiat Ministry Network. And like always, the Fiat Ministry Network, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus Christ. And we're back. Make sure you check out the Catholic Company. Any kind of support you can do if you need, a baptism, buy a gift for a baptism or first communion, everything. I mean, they have everything on that website. Make sure you click on the link at the fiatministrynetwork.tv, and just a small portion of your purchase does go to us, and that helps us with technology and everything behind the scenes for doing this kind of work, as John knows and realizes that it's tough. But again, John, what I know you do a radio show each Sunday night, and you wanted to bring up a quote from Pope Francis that and I think it's very touching, and I think we need to really hear about this. So go ahead, John.
Well, thank you. I've had a number of inquiries about how Orthodox apostolates operate in the media. Now, when I decided I would do this, and I decided being pushed and shoved by those two old priests I mentioned in the first half hour, I said to myself, I don't trust the world. I don't trust the world for a good reason. Because when you start talking about the faith, nationally and internationally, like we do on internet, radio, and television, you don't know who's out there.
Yeah.
And there may be some very, very unfriendly people out there. So that if I'm going to do this, and was pushed and shoved into doing what were known as hot topics.
Yes.
And the definition the two priests gave me was topics that we can't discuss from the pulpit. So I immediately thought about what I call the H trilogy, which is heresy, homosexuality, and hypocrisy. And they said, you're off and running. Those are really important. However, you cannot just get up in front of a screen or in front of a microphone and extemporaneously go off. You just can't do that. That's suicidal. And it's suicidal for a lot of reasons, but the main one is that you might do violence to the very truth that you're trying to talk about. So it is absolutely vital and necessary that you prepare for each broadcast or telecast. So that means that you write a script. Now, this Sunday night, I'm going to share with you a few things about how we put a script together, because people have asked me about this. I will tell you that this is the 169th broadcast on the Forward Boldly Radio Network of Conversations with John Kuhry Sr. Okay? I will tell you that. And I will tell you that I have written 169 scripts. And these are not 1 or 2 pages, because we go 90 minutes. We do 90 minutes for a specific reason, which is if you have something that's really hot, you don't want to leave the people halfway there in 30 minutes or 2/3 of the way there in 60 minutes. You want to cover the topic.
Yeah.
So I needed 90 minutes, and the network agreed with me, and we've never looked back. And by the way, we don't have any trouble filling the 90 minutes. It's not because I'm that talkative either. So the first thing that I said to myself was, what are we going to use as references? What are we going to cite in these scripts? And of course, the first one was my favorite book, The Catechism of the Catholic Church. That's how Kent found me, I think, by the way, didn't you, Kent?
Yep.
Okay. Something heard me, and this little guy is going off every week about the catechism. And Kent said, this guy really knows the catechism. Well, when you do 190 to 69 shows, you better know it. You better know it pretty well. So the catechism, and then sacred tradition. How many of you are familiar with what is known as the New Commentary of the Code of Canon Law? Not very many. It's a very, very big, thick book, about that thick. It has all of canon law in it. Well, canon law is very important because canon law governs the church, particularly the clerical part of the church. So that's a reference. Sacred scripture, tradition, canon law, of course, papal encyclicals. Why? Well, because they're infallible. That's why, okay? They're part of the doctrine of the church. So you make this list, the writings of the great doctors of the church, Aquinas, Thomas Aquinas, St. Augustine, etc., Catherine of Siena. And you use that as your base. Now, I'm going to walk you through just for a few minutes. I don't want to bore anybody, but I don't think this is going to be boring when you hear what this topic is Sunday night. I read and you have to read. You have to read. This is why I got these glasses. I put them on 3 years ago. I'm an old golfer guy, and I can still see a golf ball at 300 yards, but that fine print is getting tough now because your eyes get tired. I read 2 hours a day, every day. They had that practice for many years, and most of the stuff I read is spiritual stuff, Catholic stuff. Okay? So I happened upon an article entitled, a speech entitled The Meaning of Mercy. Now, we're in the year of mercy, right? The meaning of mercy.
Yep.
The speaker was Cardinal Maradiager. Say that again, John. Maradiager. Maradiager. Everybody knows who Cardinal Maradiager is? How many people know? Raise your hand.
I can't put my...
No, you don't know.
I don't know.
Well, Cardinal Maradiager is the number 2 guy in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
He is a cardinal from the country of Honduras. He is the Pope's closest friend. And when the Pope got in office and saw the terrible mess that the Kuhry was in and had created, he formed what is known as the Gang of Eight. The only cardinal in the United States that's on the Gang of Eight is O'Malley. Okay? None of the ones that they see in print all the time, they're not on it. Okay? O'Malley. All right? And it became the Gang of Nine about a year after that. So he's in office like 2 weeks, and he calls Cardinal Maradiager and says, I want you to chair this committee of cardinals, and I want you to help me govern the church. And by the way, when they get done, there may not be any more Kuhry. I can't, I shouldn't say that exactly that way. However, the Pope's instructions were very clear. Things are not working the way they're supposed to work, and we need to change things rather dramatically. So these 8 men, who were then joined in 2014 by the Secretary of State, another cardinal whose name is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, who's an Italian. So now it's the Gang of Nine. At any rate, so about 2 weeks after the Synod of Rome, remember the Synod of Rome?
Yep.
We still haven't got that final report, have we? I'll come to that in a minute. I will come to that in a minute. So I picked up this speech called The Meaning of Mercy, given by Cardinal Maradiager. It was given at Santa Clara University. That's in California. The closest major city would be San Francisco.
Yeah.
Attention now, you're going to have to connect some dots. The old lawyer may give you a test here in a minute. Okay, so the meaning of mercy. And he starts off this by asking the people if they had any questions about what really went on at the Synod of Rome. Oh, you got questions. Well, we read this, we read this. He listened for a few minutes and he said, stop. None of the things that you read, none of the things that have been reported except by L'Osservatore Romano, none of those things happened. I'm pausing. That's the pause. Did everyone in the audience hear what I just said?
I think, yes.
Then he said, a lot of things were put out by people who are enemies of the church, who are internal enemies of the church. What really happened is that we changed no doctrines of the church, nor was that even a consideration, because a synod and indeed even a council cannot change an infallible doctrine of the church. Now, you see, if you were catechized, you'd know this stuff, okay? But that's a fact. I want to share it with the audience, Ken, now, and this is just very brief.
Yeah.
Embedded in this speech he gave at Santa Clara is the following two sentences, quote, "And so this is why it is never going to be approved, a marriage between persons of the same sex. This is not the plan of God. We read it clearly from the first pages of Genesis. Marriage is the union of a man and a woman," close quote. Is that clear enough? Everybody got that?
That's clear to me.
Enough. And why did he choose Santa Clara to deliver such clear doctrinal remarks? Well, very near San Francisco,
yeah,
the home of homosexuality in this country. Was this addressed in the secular press? No. Was this addressed in the so-called Catholic press? No again. Now, he then went on to talk about a word. I'm going to say this word slowly because I don't want anybody to misunderstand this word. I might even spell this. Well, I'll spell it.
Yes.
Here's the word. The word is HOMOHERESY. Homo heresy. Whose word is that? Pope Francis's word.
Yes.
And also Pope Meridieger to describe what is going on in the Vatican. That there is a lobby. And this lobby are homo heretics. Now, you might remember 2 days before the synod began, a Monsignor was summarily fired and kicked out. And he walked out of the Vatican, and on his arm was his mail, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Terrible. So I thought this was a worthy topic, a worthy hot topic, Kent. You think it's a worthy hot? So it's called, the broadcast is going to be called Homo Heresy in the Vatican. That's the title. And they're not, you see, most of these things are never my words. They're always borrowed words, borrowed from someone. In this case, the two top leaders of the Roman Catholic Church in the world. Yeah. Okay. So,
John, really quick, why don't you think it was in the press of the, Catholic press. Was there a reason that they stayed away from it too? I mean, it just seemed like, I don't know. I just was curious what your thought on that would be. Why? I mean, I understand the main press, but the Catholic press?
Yeah. See, I want to really be careful. I don't want to hurt anybody here. But the reality that I have found in doing this work now for about 10 years is that when I've been asked to go and talk to, say, a Catholic group, maybe sponsored by a radio station or Catholic newspaper or whatever, and they ask me, what would you like to talk about? And I pick one of these topics. Oh, you can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Why can't I talk about that? I'm a free man. Well, no, we just can't. We wouldn't be able to sponsor anything like that. What it is, Kent, is very simple. It's paychecks.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the Catholic media in the United States, unfortunately, including the biggest Catholic television network in the world, is controlled by the hierarchy. Now, the state of the church right now, if the Pope is saying we have homo heresy in the Vatican, the state of the church can't be too particularly great at the moment. I mean, I think anybody would concede that, right?
Yeah.
Right. However, there's this errant idea that if somehow we camouflage the truth from the faithful, that we can continue to go along our merry way with our uninterrupted lifestyle, which in the case of the hierarchy is pretty good, etc.
Yeah.
Okay? And the problem with it is, of course, is that trust keeps getting eroded and eroded and eroded, because I can't tell you how many people in the 3+ years we've done the radio broadcasts have talked to me about this. And they say, John, there are just so few people. And that's why Ken and I got hooked up. I mean, there are just so few people that are out there really telling the truth with the sole purpose of helping souls go to heaven. I mean, that's the agenda we have.
Right.
It's nothing else, right?
Right.
Karen?
Well, I mean, it's a great, and I've talked to Al Smith about this also. And, we want to have a library, like with you, with a library of the catechism. We want a library of good topics about what is really about the Catholic Church and what is solid about the Catholic Church. And it's just a shame that we have to put stuff into the gray area of, the truth. Like you were saying, we have to, we can't water down what is, real and true. And I think it's just kind of a shame that we are trying to save souls, and it's so difficult, and it's one person at a time. I mean, that's what we're really about, encouraging all to say yes to Jesus Christ, and get that one person to say yes, and then get a momentum, and just to get them learning about the faith. And I think a topic, those hot topics have to be discussed in the sense that they're out there, and I think you do a great job of that every Sunday night. And stay tuned each Sunday night. But it's just, how do we prevent that? How do we prevent some of these things?
Let me jump in. That's a really good question. If I can jump in for just a second.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That's a really good question. What if I told you, and Kent knows this, but your audience perhaps does not? What if I told you that in these 168 broadcasts that we've done on the most volatile topics in the Catholic Church, that we have not been chastised, criticized, or accused one single time of making any error as regards what the truth of the Catholic Church is. Not a single time. Not once. Not by media, not by chancery offices, not by anybody. And we've taken some heads off. And by the way, they deserve to have their heads taken off when we take them off. I mean, there's some bad stuff going on.
Yeah.
So Ken's point is, it's extremely difficult. I mean, I didn't go into this to be popular. I don't want to be popular, because that's a death sentence in our society today. It really is. The truth and popularity are just running absolutely right straight against one another. Okay. So I did this because those two great priests said, John, if you save one soul, you're going to put yourself in a higher spot in heaven.
Yeah.
That was pretty convincing to me. That gave me a real motivation to go after this. But when I'm counseling, and I do this, and a lot of people, there are any number of people out there that could come on your network or do the radio or whatever.
Yeah,
You
right.
don't need to be professionally trained, although I was professionally trained as a speaker, but since my voice has gotten bad, you wouldn't know that. But there are any number of people out there that are holding back skills, talents, and abilities they possess that they could be giving to God.
Yes.
Because they're afraid or they're cautious or whatever. And I say to them tonight, I go to bed every night and sleep like a baby and feel like I'm the most blessed man on the face of the earth. I feel that way because I know I'm doing God's work.
Yes.
A touching letter yesterday from a priest who I've known for over 40 years. Well, more than that, 60 years. He went to prep school with me. He has been a missionary in the Amazon in Brazil for 40 years, enduring the absolute worst poverty and hardships you can imagine. He wrote me this long letter. He sends a letter once a year. In the letter, he asked me how my own apostolate was going.
Yeah.
And I just gave him a letter back. And I said, we're kind of in the same position in that not too many people where you are really listen to you. And not too many people where I am, in spite of the fact that the media reaches all over the world, really listen to me. But those who do, we got them.
Yeah.
And we'll help them save their souls.
Right.
I believe that with every fiber of my being.
I totally agree, and I think Al's in the chat room right now, and I think he would agree with that, because that's how we look at it too. We're not a huge numbers wise. It's
right.
it's the quality of the content that we're giving out, that we want to have that library, and you have a library of over almost 170 now or so shows that you can go back and listen to, and people can go to Blog Talk Radio and find the all your episodes. And I think that's so important to say that, John, that you with the catechism and what you're saying of how you're taking every show and making it from the catechism, but you have to give out what's going on, and that's what you're all about. And people need to know, knowledge is power, and that's maybe a way to change something. We can change a person's soul by them knowing something. Maybe they can have a gift that they're afraid of, like you're saying, and maybe that topic, touched me, that I can, go up to my parish priest and say something, and let's, have a conversation. That's the only way we can really. That's why I think, Al, we've been talking about men's ministries and how men need to be back and be, you have a church militant behind you. We need to be militant. We need to be the soldiers of Jesus Christ. We need to get out there and serve him and fight the good battle. And that's what we're trying to do. And hopefully you guys check out the Catechism series. Check out John's radio show every Sunday night. We'll have links up for the where you can find it. I know we're running at the 10 o'clock Eastern right here, but John, again, thank you. I appreciate everything you've done. You're always welcome back. I just appreciate everything you do, and if you had any last thoughts, and if you wanted to end with a prayer, that would be great.
All right, let's use a prayer of my generation. It's a beautiful prayer. It's even a song. Kent may not know it. Please bow your heads.
Yes.
May the good Lord bless and keep you, whether near or far away. May you find that long-awaited golden day today. Maybe your troubles all be small ones, and your fortunes 10 times 10. May the good Lord bless and keep you until we meet again. May you walk with sunlight shining and a bluebird in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of every cloud you see. Fill your dreams with sweet tomorrows. Never mind what might have been. May the good Lord bless and keep you until we meet again. God love you.
Yep. God bless. Thank you, John. And that is a wrap. We'll see you a special Tuesday night stream from a youth minister over in Erie, Pennsylvania. So next Tuesday, I think it would be the 26th, 9 p.m. with the Fiat Ministry Show. Again, John, thank you again, and everybody that's in the chat room.
Thank you, Kent. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. God bless you, and we will see you next week. Hi, it's Ken Kowalski with the Fiat Ministry Network. We want to thank the Catholic Company to be such a great partner with the Fiat Ministry Network. Please check out their link at the bottom of our website, and please click over and check out their great website, as there's just tons of different items for all parts of the year, for the especially with the Mercy year coming up, Christmas, all throughout the whole year. There will be just tons of items. Please check them out for